What's going on, everybody? Gokhshtein Unfiltered back again. My name is David Gokhshtein, and my guest today, Anthony. What's going on? The mooch.
Hey, listen, it's good to be on. When you have a name like Gokhshtein, though, right? It's a pretty cool name, right? I mean, don't you think names like sort of tie into your identity and stuff?
It does. Like when I was growing up, though, I hated it. Feels like nobody can pronounce it, and I was just like, I'd give up. In class, like the teacher's like, I'm like, I'm here. Just leave me alone. I'm here.
Listen, I mean, I got a 4-syllable last name. Do you know how I got nicknamed the Mooch? This is like a little bit of trivia. Okay, so I had this wildly politically incorrect phys ed teacher from Germany when I was in the 2nd grade. He hated all human beings that had 4-syllable last names. So you're talking about the Capobiancos, the Scaramuccis, you name it. We had we had a League of Nations, though, too, by the way, in my class.
Yeah.
But he just decided that every person in the class was going to be nicknamed by him one of the syllables of their last name, but not more than one, right? So mine was Scaramucci. So that was it. And in 1972, that son of a bitch called me Mooch. And here I am today, 50 years later.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it. I don't give a shit. That's why
the Mooch.
They were going off on me like when I was in the White House, and all these liberals were like, "Oh, let's call him the Mooch." That's a derogatory name. I'm like, no, it isn't. I don't mind it at all. I mean, people are nuts. David, you've been around the media long enough. Are people nuts? I mean, they're nuts. They're nuts. What are you going to do? I mean, let them do whatever the hell they need to do, Then you got all these like anonymous people troll. Like you have a great Twitter feed, but then, because I can't help myself because I'm a little bit of a voyeur. I go into like the commentary section, right? I mean, they're all anonymous. They're all, the XYZ 1747. And then, okay, David, you suck. And it's from XYZ 47. The guy probably has like a unicorn zit coming, probably 500 pounds with like a unicorn zit coming out of the forehead in his mother's basement somewhere. You know what I mean?
I say, Mooch, I say that all the time. Just like, I guess when I first came on, I know who I am. So like, it kind of bothered me a bit. But then I was just like, all right, I don't even know you. You're probably 41 years old, living in your mama's basement and eating chunky soup. And, your life is to get onto the internet and, fuck with me. So it's okay, fine. It is what it is,
Just remember something. What other people think of you, this is really for your viewers and listeners, okay? What other people think of you is none of your business. My grandmother used to say that to us, and just live your life like that, especially in the world of social media and this human cesspool, fishbowl that we're all living in. Just sort of ignore it. But where are you now, if you don't mind me asking you a few questions too? Where are you now on Bitcoin, Ethereum, the blockchain? Where's your head right now in this current market environment?
I'm still bullish about Bitcoin, but for me, I've seen a change in Bitcoin, and the Bitcoiners will probably hate me, but it's the truth. I feel like, the younger generation that's coming in here, they find it boring. It's like old finance right now. Ethereum, I feel like Ethereum has done great things in terms of building an ecosystem. You see Web3, NFTs, and people go crazy for even in the bear markets, people are going crazy to go ahead and grab onto an NFT. I think they've done it correctly in terms of building out that ecosystem and making people like diehards. And they got a younger generation along with that. But Bitcoin, Ethereum, I mean, algo, which we will go into, I want to touch upon.
Yeah, sure.
Upon that later. Like, I had Sean on here. I was like, Sean, all Algorand needs is marketing and branding. That I've been preaching that for like so long with Algo, because I think it's fantastic.
Sean, and we're referring to Sean Ford, the new interim CEO of Algorand. But what does Sean say to something like that?
He knows, like it's like he understands. Like it comes down to branding. Like you have to brand, and what I mean by branding is the community needs to understand what Algorand is. I'm not talking about having somebody go on and start screaming "buy Algorand." No, I'm saying that people should explain the protocol in layman's terms, because people that come into this space, they don't understand coding. They don't know C++. They don't know what Rust is. They don't know Solidity. And you expect them to go, no, I mean, people come into this space, they don't even know economics or finances, or they don't even know how to log into Facebook or something. Like, you're expecting people to catch on to something like this? I mean, no, there has to be branding where somebody's consistently teaching somebody about the protocol, the benefits, and what it does, for society. And I think once you get to that point, I think Algorand has a great chance to, be top 10 in this space, just based on the people that built it. I mean, it's a phenomenal protocol, but it just doesn't get its due just because of the branding part.
Well, listen, I obviously believe that. I've got over 100 million algos in my portfolio. It was once worth over $100 million, certainly substantially less than that now. But I wrote a 110-page book about Algorand. The title of it was called The Genius of Algorand, just explaining what I thought was the technical elegance of Algorand. I tried to do it without a lot of jargon. I just tried to explain to people, listen, if you want to use the blockchain, what are some of the protocols that we're going to be using so that we can transact with each other? Algorand, frankly, I think it's the blockchain that has solved for the trilemma. So to understand the scalability, the decentralization, the security around Algorand, Sylvia Macaulay, who won the Turing Award, effectively the Nobel Prize for computer programming, him and his computer programming team have developed a brilliant technology. The question now, though, related to it is what you and I both know is that you need marketing and you need people that can entice and recruit developers. Anatoly at Solana has done, Yevchenko has done an amazing job of recruiting the people. That main net has probably gone down 4 or 5 times since he got started. Now, some of that can be volume. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He's got so much throughput coming through his system. Maybe that's why. Okay. The Algorand fans would say, oh, no, it's because of product design. I'm willing to give Anatoly the benefit of the doubt. I think he just grew the thing so quickly. I think it took a moment here. But, weirdly, I would like Algorand to have that problem. I'd like their TVL to be growing exponentially. I would like the products. I'm not being critical. I'm just being observant. They have a deal with the largest sports franchise in the world. So we have 5.3 billion people that are hooked into what the Europeans and the rest of the world call football. We call it soccer here in the United States, but let me just tell you something. That is 17x the NFL. And I don't know. Do a lot of people know about it, David? Is that other than people that are long Algorand and other than people that are in this ecosystem, let me contrast that to my buddy and now my partner, Sam Bankman-Fried. He put his logo on the Miami arena, but he also put it on the front of the umpire for Major League Baseball and the right and left shoulder. I think most people know in the U.S. the word or the acronym, whatever you want to call it, the initials, FTX. I think they know it. And now they don't know perhaps the full capability of FTX or how exciting that business is, but at least they're out there now in terms of name recognition, and I want that for Algorand, which is why I wrote a book about it. And Sean, to your point, he does get it, but I think they have to make these decisions. I've been imploring the powers that be, make Sean the permanent CEO and give him a mandate so that we can take this thing to the next level.
Sean's the guy. Like, I had that conversation. We actually did a podcast. That's the guy you want. I mean, I don't know. Like, I said it as soon as I started. I mean, I spoke to him on Twitter, but as soon as we got to do a one-on-one, like, the guy is super intelligent. That's the guy that should be leading
No,
Algorand to the next level.
also, but he has the history with it. Remember, these are, I mean, I'm going to say something to you as an entrepreneur, which I know you get. He has a founder's mentality.
Yes.
Okay. It's one thing you want to create Google and then you want to put Patel in charge of it 25 years later. No problem. Okay. But it's, you get the point that I'm making. You need a founder's mentality right now, a founder's mentality. So,
speaking of
I
founders,
meant to say Pishar. I said Patel. I'm thinking of Microsoft, and I conflated the two. But you know what I'm talking about.
of course.
You have Larry and Sergey.
Yeah.
They grow the business, develop the business. They bring in Eric Schmidt for a little bit of maturity and continuity, and now it's being professionally run. God bless these guys. But Algorand is at the founder level.
I in 2 to 3 years, if I just feel like if everything goes right, especially with the branding, and I know I stick on that. Maybe it's because I've been in branding and marketing and sales for the last 15 years of my life. I stick on that just because it's, you can have a great product, but if nobody knows about it, nobody's going to be really interested in it. Speaking of that, Elon takes over Twitter. Your thoughts? Do you think that Elon will go ahead and make Twitter, because everything Elon's touched has, I mean, he's turned it into something super special. Do you think he takes Twitter to the next level? He actually unlocks its potential?
I do, and let me provide context as to why I do. Okay. Number one, he sees the world totally differently than the average person. Okay. So I don't know if it's left or right handed or left or right brain oriented, but he's looking at Twitter as an incredibly underutilized asset. There was an article today in the paper, again, I don't know if it's true or not, that he's going to up the charge to $20 a month for people that are verified. But with it, I believe it will come with a guarantee that they're not shadow banned. Okay. Yeah. So I can't speak to you, but I can speak to me. Because of my political views, I am shadow banned. Okay, for sure. I have over 1 million followers, but I can't get more than that because they won't put my profile out on the Twitterverse, if you will. And so I've got this very narrow thing. I can grow a little and not grow a little.
Join the club.
Yeah. It's just totally obvious. You probably are as well because of your outspokenness, your opinions. You're not Kim Kardashian, and you're also talking about the blockchain and Bitcoin. And so in defense of Twitter, because every time you open your mouth or I open my mouth, you see 4 or 5 robots, come on, or these bots and say, buy this or buy that, or there's a picture of Elon Musk, I'm giving this away for free, which is total garbage, and I think he understands it. Also, I think he uses it. Okay, so this is like a sports owner that loves the team. Okay, so I live in New York. I'm a Met fan my whole life, longtime suffering Met fan. Steve Cohen, a close personal friend of mine, bought the Mets. He's transforming the team. It's like a dream come true. You have somebody that actually likes the team, is a fan of the team, now owns the team and has the financial capital to make the team successful. You see what I mean? That's Elon Musk. He's like a sports owner that is a prolific user. He's the chief twit now. And my bet is that he turns this thing around and turns it into something that no one ever thought possible. I listened to one of his conference calls before, he started the deal, David. So he had a situation where the deal was about to happen and then he pulled back from it, went to the lawsuit, and then the deal happened. But in that stop-start process, he talked about creating a WeChat in the United States that is Twitter. And those Asian listeners know what I'm talking about. For Americans, WeChat is a one-stop shopping mechanism for all the Chinese. They can go on WeChat, converse with each other. They can use their Alibaba Pay to buy things from each other. They can get DoorDash deliveries or whatever they call it over there. My point is he's looking at Twitter and saying, okay, this is ridiculously underused. It's primarily a micro blog for some, and a cesspool for others. But imagine if we got rid of the cesspool, expanded the content of the microblog, and then provided full-scale services, which he's totally capable of understanding. So
Yeah.
my money's on him. You know, I was with CZ from Binance last week. We were in Saudi Arabia together. We both had the opportunity to speak at the FII conference. We had there was a large dinner that we went to for speakers, and you know, CZ gave him $500 million. Were you concerned about the price that he's paying? No, actually, I'm not concerned about the price he's paying. Why is that, CZ? Well, it's Elon Musk. Okay, it doesn't matter what the price is that he's paying. He will execute this thing and turn this into a colossal home run for people.
I think he flips it in 3 to 4 years at like 3 times the purchase price.
100%. And everyone will be standing around. And, you know, here's the other thing about Elon Musk, because he's not going to say, like, I love traditional finance executives. Can I just get into role play for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
I got my hoodie on, but just imagine I'm in my Brioni.
Yeah.
Okay, here I am. And I'm only going to say what has been hermetically sealed in my communications director department. I can't say anything about women. I can't say anything about minorities. I have to talk like this. And this is a language that regulators understand. And I will go to Washington and kiss regulators' asses. And when I meet with the press, I will not say anything to them that could be in any way controversial. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can someone please turn this off so I can get a cup of Starbucks? I mean, give me a fucking break, okay?
I know, right?
So he comes in and tells you whatever the fuck he thinks, and he's honest about everything. And by the way, if he makes a mistake, like this is what I love about this fucking guy. He put something up on Twitter that was like some conspiracy theory about Paul Pelosi, and he's like, oh, okay, that probably wasn't the right fucking thing to do. So he takes it off. Okay, big fucking deal. Yeah. And you got all these 5-alarm fire. You have these cancellation fire trucks. Okay. You know what they are? Yeah. Okay. David, you said one syllable wrong. We're sending the cancellation fire truck to your house. We're going to hose you down. Okay. And we're going to rip out your tongue. And oh, by the way, you're never allowed to talk to anybody anymore. And that's not enough. You're now been, because there's no jury, you're now guilty. Yeah. And we are going to give you a professional death sentence, David. So you can't do your podcast anymore. You can't make any money. You're not allowed on the air. Okay, you're canceled, David. Okay, you said something wrong. Ridiculous. See, this fucking is what ridiculous. Elon Musk does to those people. Okay, so that's why I love this guy. I love this guy.
You know? He is so, like, I look at him like he is so ahead of the news. Like when they try to fuck with him. Right. He's so ahead. He's 3 weeks, 4 weeks ahead.
100%.
Because when Business Insider comes out with some shit, he's just like, he's already
whatever. You know, I fathered 15 kids. You know what? We have a population problem. I'm trying to add to the population. Grow up. I mean, I love the guy. But here's the other thing. Like, I was at an event, and it was a women's equality event. Yeah. And very famous. I'm not going to tell you who he is because it'll be upsetting to the guy, and he's a friend of mine, but he's a very famous financial services executive. He's at this women's event on equality and diversity. This poor son of a bitch. Okay, he literally was like, he couldn't wait to get off the stage, right? So then he comes off the stage. They give me the microphone, and I'm like, "Hey, listen."
You went in.
I said, "You know, God bless the guy, and I understand why he's got to do that. But I don't have to do that. I'm running my own company. Now, I'm going to tell you what really happens. If you guys are upset with it, leave or boo me or whatever you guys want to do. But let me tell you what you're doing to it yourselves. Okay. You're scaring the living daylights out of people. Okay. Yeah. So when you're at a corporate setting with a guy, he's looking at you. He's saying, okay, I got to be careful here. I may say she has a nice dress, at which point she could run to personnel and say that I was like creeping on her. And now I'm going to lose my house and I won't be able to make my mortgage payment. So what ends up happening is the person backs off. Yeah. And now you can't get included in any of the reindeer games in the company. Okay. It's because of that. So either what do we want to do? Do we want to have like normal, honest discourse with each other and everyone gets treated fairly and equally? Or do we want to be in a situation where we can't talk to each other and we're paralyzed with fear that something we say to each other is going to be misconstrued and cause someone to be professionally canceled forever?
Well, that's what we've done. We've excluded the other side from speaking. Anytime the other side has an opinion, they're deplatformed.
Yes.
And they're just canceled off, which is, how do you even learn? How do you even have a normal conversation? I can't even program myself to society today because I can't have that conversation because you've taken away all this.
100%.
You know,
100%.
Like, I was going to speak about Trump. You mentioned working in the White House. Number one, I wanted to ask you, how was that? Number one, I mean, that that has to be like super special. And number two, like, I didn't agree with Trump having his platform taken away from him. I didn't agree with it.
Okay, well, there's two separate things there. So let me go into the first one. Okay, let me go to the first one, and let me explain the second one.
Okay.
And let me finish by saying Trump should now be back on the platform.
Okay.
However, at that time, let me answer the first question first. I mean, the last question first. So I believe the National Counterintelligence Center, NCI, which was created after 9/11, based on a review of Trump's text messages and the communications that they were picking up in Washington. Okay. I believe that it was recommended to the social media platforms because of the insurrection and Donald Trump's involvement with it that he be deplatformed. Okay. And so what ends up happening is this nonpartisan group, the National Counterintelligence Center, they look at people and they say, okay, this person's an existential threat to the United States. Now, you can like Trump or dislike Trump. Okay. And I can give you my views of Trump if you're interested, because there are good parts of him and there are bad parts of him. But I believe that he lost that election, and I believe that he was fomenting an insurrection, or at least a dramatic and potentially violent protest on the nation's capital. And that's the first time the Capitol was insurrected, we're even talking the Civil War. So I believe that they were asked to deplatform him because they thought he was an existential threat and an immediate threat. That's why when someone makes the argument on conservative talk radio, oh, well, the mullahs in Afghanistan are on the platform, but Donald Trump isn't, that's bullshit. Well, the mullahs are not an existential immediate threat to the U.S. But I don't believe Donald Trump is an immediate threat to the U.S. anymore. And so therefore, he should be allowed back on the platform. You can dislike Donald Trump or like Donald Trump, but I'm a free speech proponent, and he should be on the platform. Now, if he's spewing hate and he's spewing anti-Semitism or anything, I'm not saying he's anti-Semitic. I'm just saying any broad-based hate speech, then he has to be taken off the platform. You don't have the right to yell fire in the movie theater, and I don't have the right to use the N-word on the platform. Okay,
sure.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Sure.
So, there is free speech and freedom of thought, and then there's this craziness that I think has to be contained. And by the way, I think Elon understands that. But on the White House, it's a separate thing. I got my ass kicked in the White House. I mean, who's kidding who? I got my ass fired after 11 days. But it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, right? I got to talk to the press from the press box. How many people can give a press conference for 45 extemporaneous minutes from the White House, seen by 40 million people? Okay, so I was very proud of that. Number two, I love my country. I was a blue-collar kid growing up. I've made some dough. I wanted to serve the country. Trump was a little bit of a maniac, but I made a mistake. I told some reporter that I trusted, who I knew for a long time, a fucking great line about Steve Bannon. Okay, he was a jackass, Steve Bannon, probably one of the worst people I've ever met in my life. I didn't expect the reporter to run the CNN with the recording of what I said. That was embarrassing to the president. I deserved to be fired for that. Okay, so I don't blame the reporter. That's my fault for trusting the crocodile or trusting the scorpion. So I got my ass fired. I stayed very close with General John Kelly. We do speaking arrangements together, so forth. But I worked in the White House, had an office in the White House. I flew Air Force One 3 times. I got to look at a lot of things related to our intelligence and related to our national security, which I think has made me a wiser person. And when you get fired like that, David, it is incredibly humbling. Okay. I don't give a shit who you are. Getting my ass kicked like that, I think, has helped me. It's made me more psychologically minded. I think it's made me a wiser, smarter, more humble person.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't trade the experience for anything in the world. And to make you laugh, I have 1 million more Twitter followers than Donald J. Trump. How's that? And I wouldn't have had that if I had not worked in the White House.
That's awesome. Not awesome that you got fired after 11 days, but that 11 days must have been like, I mean, I don't even think you can explain it. You have to experience it.
But here's what I would say to you, and I would say this to your listeners, they should listen carefully to this, okay? I had a great career going. I didn't need to join the White House.
Yeah.
But my ego sucked me into that. My pride sucked me into that, okay? And I would tell you that it was the wrong decision. My wife probably hates Donald Trump as much as Melania hates him, or like right up there, okay, in terms of the hatred. And she really did not want me to do it because she said, Trump's crazy. It's not going to end well. And she was right, okay? But smarter people than me, my buddy Vinny Viola was offered the Secretary of the Army. He met with Trump. He spent 3 hours with him. He said, you know what? I don't want to be the Secretary of the Army. And he pulled himself out of it. Yeah. And it just caused less disharmony and less disorganization. And that was really good self-awareness on his part, not me. I needed to put my ass in that White House because I was trying to take a round peg and put it into a square hole. And that is a cautionary tale of pride and ego in one's decision-making. So I would just tell people, you know, take your pride and ego out of your decision-making. You're investing, spouses. You're wrong. You're fighting with your spouse. Hey, I'm wrong. Let's get over this so we can stay together. You know, that sort of thing.
That's you know, that's dope. A lot of people won't admit when they're wrong because they'll just stand on it. That's dope to hear it from somebody like you in your current position to say, like, look, love that part.
You got to, man. You got to.
I wanted to ask you two more things, I guess, because I know you're busy for time, so I'm not going to keep you here. And I appreciate you coming on. Thoughts on Kanye West? How do you feel about Ye? Excuse me, I can't say Kanye West. How do you feel about Ye?
First of all, let me just say what I feel about anti-Semitism. I think anti-Semitism is ridiculously disgusting. It's reprehensible, and there's no place in our society for it. And, you know, when you have an experience like the Jewish faith, the people who identify as Jews, when 6 million people are exterminated, a mass genocidal murder for no reason other than your Jewry, if you will, I think we have to take that stuff very, very seriously. And as libertarians and people that love freedom and individual expression and the right to worship God the way we see fit, we have to protect the minorities in our civilization. And despite the fact that there's a stereotype that, quote unquote, Jewish people have a lot of money, what kind of bullshit is that? There's 14, 15, 16 million Jews on a population of 7 billion people, and they need to be protected. And we need to protect them like the canary in the coal mine, because there's a domino effect if you don't protect them. So I find anti-Semitism reprehensible. Kanye, okay, and people are going to be mad at me for this, and I like the fact that Elon Musk actually put him back on Twitter. I don't know if you noticed that. He unblocked him. That was like the first thing he did. I have a soft spot for Kanye. I think he has mental illness, and I think he's off his medication. I think he's stressed out because of his divorce. I think his career has sort of gone sideways, and he's a blue-collar or below blue-collar person from the streets of Chicago, and I think he's got a self-detonating switch in his personality, and he pressed that button, and he self-detonated over the last couple of weeks, and some of that is medicinal. Some of that is a mental health issue. And so, you know, people want to be mad at me. That's fine. He shouldn't be saying what he said, and that's reprehensible, but he has a mental health issue, and he's an artist, a very successful creative artist. He needs to get treatment. Okay. And then once he's gotten some treatment and he's been stabilized from a mental health perspective, then I think we got to let Kanye be Kanye without the hate screeds, because he is an artist. Okay. You had another question, though. What was the other question?
Regulation. And that'll be the last one that I want to touch on. Regulation. Who does it benefit? Does it benefit the 1% like Citadel, Fidelity
Yeah,
and
good
BlackRock,
question.
or will it when they implement it, because it's coming
Yeah.
regardless,
Yeah.
even though I might
Well,
not
yes. I
like
mean,
it.
the answer is yes. I mean,
It's
of
not that I
course it.
don't, it's
Yeah.
not because I don't want regulation,
Right.
but I just feel that regulation doesn't help the average Joe. It only helps the
Yeah.
big boys because now
Listen, I mean,
they're insured.
these are really good questions. So let me say this to you. It On the margin, it may provide some bells and whistles or safety features or warning label features. You'll probably have a harder to open safety cap on the Tylenol, that sort of thing. So on the margin, it may help the individual investor. But yes, of course it helps the status quo. Let me tell you something about regulation. I started my business in 2005, right? So I went to Tufts, Harvard Law School, went to Goldman. I left Goldman, started a business, sold the business. The business got eventually bought by Lehman. I left Lehman to start SkyBridge in March of 05. 3 people started SkyBridge. David, impossible to do that today. Okay, you couldn't start SkyBridge today with 3 people. The regulation in the last 18 years has been so overwhelming that the first group of people I have to hire are lawyers and compliance people. So you're starting SkyBridge? Yes, I am. How are you going to start SkyBridge? Well, I have to hire 9 people into my regulatory and compliance operations before I can turn the lights on and figure out a way to make money for my customers and convince clients to come and put their money at SkyBridge. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So that is like a moat that prevents 2 young kids from starting SkyBridge today. So yes, the regulation protects BlackRock and it protects the larger scale companies because they've already got the infrastructure in place. And so anything they're hit with regulation is benefiting them because it's knocking out the competition. Do you see that? Yeah, so that's a broad statement, not just blockchain regulation. I'm talking about broad financial services regulation. And then specifically as it relates to the blockchain, listen, we live in a hybrid society. You've got people that want to be socialists. You got people who want to be communists. Maybe you and I are libertarian capitalists, but I'm just telling you, not everybody's the same. And so we got to fight it out in that polyglot, and we're going to have to accept and deal with it, whether we like it or not.
That's for sure. Listen, Mooch, I really appreciate you coming on today onto the Gokhshtein Unfiltered podcast. I'd love to get you back on.
No, anytime.
When you're not busy.
I'm sorry I don't have a super amount of time today, but anytime you let me know and I'll block off an hour. But let's get Sean Ford. Let's drop the word interim. And let's get Sean Ford the permanency of CEO at Algorand so that we can grow that chain, we can grow that ecosystem, and it can become, because of its technology, what you and I know that it's capable of becoming.
For sure.